Hey guys, Darren back again. This is a quick video on a GameCube. This one in front of me is the Orange Spice one from Japan, which I quite like. It's a nice color, it's got the digital out port, and it's good to go. The only thing is, it's in Japanese, so we need to open it up, take out these screws, and perform a region mod. Now you're going to need a 4.5mm game bit tool and a handle. So go ahead and pull them out. There's just 4 screws, and then we can flip it over and get started. And with that off, the lid will just come straight up and off. There'll be no cables or anything attached, which is really nice. And so just put that aside. Then we need to dig a bit deeper. So there's some more screws here on the side. You know, this thing's really got screws hidden all over it. So just use a bit of common sense. The ones around the side are all the same size. So I've just sped this bit of footage up because you don't need to see me pull them out, but just keep digging right around the edges. You'll notice there's little screws just hidden away that are sort of holding it all together. So just keep digging, pull them all apart, and then you get to this power supply and the fan section. Just sort of pull that out of the way, and I like to unplug it just to get that physically out of the way. We'll reconnect it later when we need to power it on and test it. But for now, just pull that out of the way. And that exposes 3 more screws underneath. So just quickly whip them out. I've missed one there on the right. There it is. Okay, so with that done, yep, there's another one hidden down. Look, just pull the front off, or the rear off, sorry. Get that out of the way. Pull that one out. There's another one at the back. And so forth. Just keep digging. It's very easy. I missed another one there, so grab that. Right, then you find yourself in a place where you can just fold the front down. It's very easy just to fold that out of the way, and we'll come back to that in a minute. We'll disconnect the ribbon, but for right now you need to undo these 4 screws, and you need a smaller Phillips head screwdriver for this. So I just use the one on camera. It's just at a slightly finer pitch. Just carefully lift these out. Try and keep the screws actually in the little frames. I find it just easier just to keep everything nice and tidy. Then we can lift the whole CD mechanism out. It'll just lift up with a small bit of force, and you can put that aside. Now with that out the way, we can quickly grab the ribbon very carefully with our index finger and thumb. Just pull it straight up, and that will come out. We'll just put this aside just so we don't damage the ribbon. Now the heat shield, the big rectangular heat shield here in the middle, that sits on top of the processor and GPU. Now they get very hot, so that dissipates heat. Now the movements I'm making here are all about breaking the heat conductive pads. Like there's like a paste underneath, and we need to break that in such a movement that it kind of keeps it on the chips or on the heatsink. I'll show you that physically in 2 seconds, but first let's back out these 6 screws. As you can see, get them out of the way. The whole thing will be loose, and with a bit of force we need to just juggle this out of the way. So with those screws out, we just grab hold of the unit and just start to put a very fine sort of twist on it, like that, and then kind of pull it towards you, so towards the controller ports, and hopefully that'll break the contact sort of loose. As you can see there, it's starting to move, and the whole thing should come free without too much of a struggle. So as you'll see in 2 seconds, these contact heat conductive pads are transferring heat from the main chips, and we want to take them off as cleanly as possible. So this one on the right came off reasonably well, it's okay, and the one on the left there came off perfectly. And the other 2 little chips came off good as well. So your aim is to do that as cleanly as possible. Now the area we're looking at to control region is down here on the right, so it's actually really small. So I'll have to zoom in. I'll do my best with the camera work. It is extremely small, so I can only zoom so far. What we're aiming for is we want to close up that middle jumper. I'll show you that in more detail in a second, but let's take a very small piece of 30 AWG wire. So just 30 is the size I like. Just strip it off, And our goal is to basically tin up the wire, feed this in, and just solder the middle jumper in place. Let me just get a zoom for you. Where's the camera? There it is. So they're basically jumpers R5 and R6. So the middle one is what we're aiming for. It's hard to see, honestly, with this sort of camera and this sort of detail. I don't have a professional camera, so I'll do the best. So grab some isopropyl alcohol, give the whole area a clean before you do anything, and a bit of no clean flux is always recommended, especially for small soldering. You want that solder to stick. Grab your soldering iron, have it all ready to go, and we're going to just tin up the wire a little bit. So grab some solder and give that a go. Just a little bit of solder melted, and just run across the tip of the wire. It helps a lot. It'll stick to the pads a lot easier. Now I'll try and get a close-up shot of this again. I'll also put a nice high-res photo of this area up on the screen somewhere about now, just so you can see what I'm trying to do. It's just too hard to film and do this at the same time, and also try and keep my head out of the shot. Okay, so let me just put up a graphic. So a Japanese console just requires R6 to be bridged through the middle, and obviously you can open and close that bridge to control the language. And a USA console needs R5 bridged, and you can obviously open and close that resistor. So to solder this in place, I just tin it up and just very carefully sort of wipe the solder across the 2 points, and you'll end up with a nice join. And that's it basically for this Japanese console. Then I just put some isopropyl alcohol on it, give it a clean with a brush to get that flux off, clean it up with some cotton buds, and that joint is pretty much done. Now we just simply snip it off, nice and close to the board, and this mod's done. So we'll get ready to test this. Let me just show you what I've done actually. I hope you can see that. I've just got an old-fashioned magnifying glass over the top. You can see that I've bridged R6. So let's get ready for testing. First thing we need to do is reassemble. So we put our heat block back into place. Just pay very particular attention to the orientation of this. You sort of want to put it as accurately back in position as possible. And you'll feel that it'll just sort of sit there very nicely. The screw holes will align, and you can go ahead and put the 6 screws back in. Okay, so we can now reconnect our CD mechanism. Just put that in place and push down. It'll just simply click in. Reconnect our whole fan and power assembly, and also reconnect the ribbon. It's always a good idea to put the controller ports back on before you test consoles. Give it power, and we're ready for testing. So we're just going to see if the menu now comes up in English. Power is coming on. Console boots, and yes, it's all in English. My monitor, yes, it is standing on its side. It's vertical. That monitor I use now for reading documents. So, but it's also pretty handy to test consoles. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the Region sort of mod. And end of part 1 of this video. So now we just go ahead and reassemble everything. You could finish now. Part 2 in the video goes on to do the Xeno GC mod chip for region-free compatibility. So stay tuned and we'll get started with that one.